Just got our tickets to Salerno. The Global Pass works on the high-speed trains, but you have to reserve a ticket. So this is 20 euros plus the cost of our pass. So we'll take a train to Salerno and then a bus up the mountain to Maiori. Let's go.
Make sure you subscribe to join us on all our adventures. In what had become our travel day routine, we left our Airbnb in Rome early in the morning and headed towards the train station, making a pit stop back at the Mercato Centrale for some breakfast. Once we boarded, I fell into a sugar coma as we headed south. Once we reached the city of Salerno, we boarded a bus that brought us to the coastal town of Maiori.
How was your bus ride?
Windy.
It was windy, very jerky.
Yep.
The road is not wide enough to accommodate the bus and oncoming vehicles, so there was a lot of stopping, a little bit of reversing.
I think we were about this close to the other passing buses.
I thought one of the other buses might have actually scraped our bus.
It might have. I wouldn't be surprised. It was windy but pretty.
We savored our meal, happy to have survived the ride, and then headed up the hill to our Airbnb. Enticed by the magical view from our patio, we popped back down to the water one more time before evening came. Then we grabbed some groceries for dinner and ended the day with our new favorite meal of bread, cheese, spreads, and wine. Since we had been moving at quite a fast pace since the start of the trip, we decided to take the next day off to relax. We sat for hours at this seaside cafe and then made our way to the beach. Before we knew it, our rest day was over and it was time to get going again as the next day brought our trip to Pompeii.
On the way to Pompeii, got our coffees, had the bus ride from hell, and the train's just pulling up now. Unfortunately, we've got to go all the way to Naples and then back to Pompeii. It's a little bit longer than we'd want, but we'll make it. So let's go to Pompeii. Ready?
Ready.
Let's do it.
We traveled to Pompeii on our own, which required a series of trains, a bus, and a bit of walking to get there. We saw a number of charter buses arrive in Maiori that took ticket holders directly to the site and provided a tour, which in retrospect I would highly recommend and wish we took advantage of.
Pompeii. It was a bit of a process getting here, but I'm excited.
If you're not familiar, Pompeii was once a thriving Roman city that became frozen in time when in 79 AD, the eruption of Mount Vesuvius covered the area in 13 to 20 feet of volcanic ash and pumice. The thick layers of ash preserved much of what existed at the time of the city's burial, including food items, games, paintings, sculptures, tools, and so much more. We were able to see some of these items in the first part of our self-guided tour before heading deeper into the city. Pompeii was a wealthy city in its day, with a population of around 11,000 in 79 AD. Sadly, the bodies of the residents of Pompeii were interned in ash following Vesuvius's eruption. Over time, they decayed, leaving voids that archaeologists found and used as molds to make plaster casts of the figures in their final moments of life, some of which are on display throughout this UNESCO World Heritage Site. We wandered through numerous open structures, including Casa del Menandro, one of the richest and most magnificent houses in ancient Pompeii in terms of architecture, decoration, and contents. It has a footprint around 19,000 square feet, and its quality indicates that the owner was likely an aristocrat involved in politics with an affinity for fine art. The oldest part of the home dates back to 250 BC. This site, as well as the city as a whole, is an incredible piece of history that is so cool to see in person. We continued wandering through the city, walking along the ancient cobblestone roads that had ruts cut into them to help keep wagons and chariots on track, as steering was extremely difficult during their time of use. There was so much to see here, and we feel like we barely scratched the surface. We definitely recommend having an entire day in the area and doing a guided tour so that you can get the most out of your experience, and hopefully have time to pay a visit to and hike up Mount Vesuvius as well. We made the trek back to Maiori and arrived late in the evening. We grabbed some Prosecco and an assortment of to-go foods from a small restaurant down the street from our Airbnb and headed back to our patio to enjoy them. We were greeted by a fireworks show in the distance, serving as the perfect celebration of the end of one amazing adventure. The next day brought another early morning of travel as we packed up our things and made our way back to Salerno, where we would catch our train to Milan. We arrived to town quite early, so we hung out at a little cafe, had some breakfast, and then grabbed some food for later before heading to the train station. We arrived at our platform to find that our train was canceled, and thus began a very long and chaotic day of travel.
This is attempt number 2. We got our pizza. We got new tickets because our train was canceled. Now we have a 6-hour trip to Milan. As you can see, the platform is full of people because multiple trains have been delayed and canceled. It's now 12:52, and our train is still not open. It's supposed to leave at 12:50. So one day we're going to get on this train, and we're going to take a 6-hour trip to Milan. Wish us luck.
For some reason, train after train was delayed and then canceled. We spent hours trying to make the best of it, hoping we'd be able to get back to Milan as Matthew's flight was the next day. Finally, many hours later, we boarded a train and headed north. We arrived at the Milano Centrale train station late at night and then hopped on one last local train before arriving at our Airbnb, ready to get some much-needed rest. It's Tuesday. Matthew left a couple hours ago to hop on the train and get to the airport because his flight is a day earlier than mine. He has to get back to work. I don't fly out till tomorrow at about 4 o'clock, so I'm just hanging out in our Airbnb. I went on an adventure to try and find some chips. For some reason, I never really eat chips, but I have seen all these different bags with different unique looking flavors, and I really wanted to try some, and I just had this strange craving for chips. So I walked around town for probably 20 minutes trying to find a little store that was open. Yeah, my hunt for some chips was not successful, so that's okay. I didn't need chips, but it was nice to get out and just walk for a bit. So did that, came back, made a small bowl of pasta, and yeah, just hanging out, reminiscing on this awesome trip. We had such a good time. We fit in so many fun things. I loved every second of it. So just enjoying this time before I hop on a plane and get back to New York and to Nova here very soon. The day had come to say goodbye to Italy. I headed across town and took the train to the airport and then hopped on board my flight back to New York, still basking in how incredible this trip was and eagerly awaiting our next adventure.